On days like this, I feel like I'm finally seeing evidence of forward progress. Could it be enough to make me an NTRP 4.0? What's up, everybody? It's Saria, and I'm gonna follow that high-energy, highlight-focused intro right up with some short court warm-ups. More on that in a moment, but first, I don't know if it's a great idea to brand this video the way I am, but I'm showing most of everything that happened in this private lesson, including most of the errors and clunker moments and stuff. Not all of them, to be honest, but most of them. And this definitely is not all-encompassing. It's just some warm-ups, a little bit of open court, some cross-court and down-the-line drills, some exhausted point play from a feed, and then some serves. But during this session, I felt very positive about the way that I was playing. I felt like this is about as consistent as I've been and about as well as I've ever directed the ball. And I found the tennis community to be a good crowd and also a fascinatingly tough crowd, especially because the camera definitely makes all players look like they're hitting a slower ball. And I'm genuinely curious what people think this level looks like. I haven't recorded short court in a long time. I think the last time it was featured on this channel was with Ian in 2021. So I may as well let you see how that looks for me these days. And my coach Clem gave me a very helpful tip for my backhand during this warm-up. Because you can see my forehand isn't totally natural, but it's way more natural than it used to be. I can sort of easily create the spin, but the moment I go to the backhand side, I look pretty helpless in short court. But then he told me to just keep moving my feet and stop planting them so early, and right away it was like night and day. So many other things just fell into place, and all of a sudden I was generating the stroke more like I was doing on the forehand. And yes, it's still not perfect by any means, and not even close, and that's where most of my game is right now. I have, to put it kindly, a lot of room for improvement, and that's part of what is still so consistently exciting about tennis for me. I've felt like I've been in a massive plateau for about 4 years now at least. So many bad habits keep on biting me and holding me back, and lasting progress in any respect has been exceedingly difficult. If you've been following this channel, then you'll know that 6.5 years in, recent videos have focused on me still trying to learn how to just put the ball in play, and possibly one of my biggest running issues is my mentality and holding myself back mentally. And that's an insidious issue. It sneaks up on you even when you're not playing tennis. Just the way you think about tennis, on and off the court, is critical to how you actually play. So that's going to be one of the hardest things for me to work on. And this here is the first baseline exchange of the lesson, and this can really set the tone for me, for better or for worse, which again is part of my mental issues. If this goes badly, then I can often spend the entire rest of the hour too tense to really put a decent stroke on the ball. But if I have a long, consistent exchange, more like I'm having now, then all of a sudden I'm so much looser, and I more naturally have a higher shot quality and a higher confidence throughout the lesson without me having to really think about anything. I tried to actually accelerate through that passing shot because I normally miss those in the net by being really timid with the swing. The moment I start thinking about anything, I get super timid and tight, and that really makes my shots suffer. So that was a moment where I was trying to practice not doing that in a pressured situation. And then I dumped 2 balls in the net immediately. Obviously, tennis is very complex, and there are so many layers at play of note in my game, good and bad. So I'll be weaving in and out with commentary in this video discussing all of those things. I'll also be providing subtitles for anything that I or Clem say that seems relevant to me. If it's colored blue, then I'm speaking. If it's colored white, then Clem is the one speaking. Hope you enjoy this one. Those are ones that I should eventually learn to recognize are moving slowly so I can move back to take them. And you can clearly see the scared, slow, please don't miss in these backhand swings. That's more like it.
Yeah, it looked a little out to me.
That was an example of me trying to put more margin in my approach shots and focus on direction instead of pace. And my direction there was finer than I intended. And that just shows I'm a bit more uncomfortable with backhands in the short court. When I make my backhand approach shots, they tend to be very low and flat. That's something I've probably got to drill. My backhand may not be nearly the strong wing that I want it to be, but you can see that at the baseline I can at least have some competence rallying in a neutral cross-court pattern. Open racket face. Whenever I go into timid mode, it tends to revolve around my fear of missing deep. Not the best hitting there, but at least I dug that one out. Whenever I move that far back for a forehand, I tend to lose my feel for the court, and I'm not very consistent hitting a quality ball back from there. Yet. I accidentally opened up the court with a couple of decent backhands there, but now we're going to start doing it on purpose. Let's see what my more competitive rallying looks like. And obviously, Coach Clem is taking it really easy on me. He was probably like a UTR 12 around his peak. I'll have to actually ask him sometime. But he's playing down to my level and serving up some obvious meatballs to try to reward me for some shots. All of that was a shame.
That I do feel like a 4-0. I just have to keep that. I have to keep that belief.
Exactly. You're playing good right now. You're getting good shots.
So, to many of you, this may not look like much, but for me, this is a high level, and I'm having a ton of fun. Feeling really optimistic about this lesson.
that went absurdly well. Let's keep it up.
Again, lots of things to work on here, but at this point I'm feeling like a tennis player. And now I'm gonna really need to not feel like an asthmatic, which unfortunately I am, because it's time for a figure 8 drill. He put some targets on the court. Starting off, all of my shots are supposed to be cross court, and all of his will be down the line. The moment I get on the run, my shot quality, consistency, and direction all tend to suffer right away, especially when I get tired. So this will be interesting. It's not really looking that way yet, though. So that went better than expected, but now I'm going down the line, which I am much less comfortable with. I do like that angle on the forehand when I'm not moving laterally. Here, you'll notice way less consistency with the targets. I'm going to be missing in the alleys and in the middle of the court a lot. And there's just some general discomfort with trying to hit a backhand down the line, but he's going to address some of that with a tip soon that feels immediately effective for me. Yeah, like, that just looks uncomfortable. And here comes the tip.
Reaching. Okay, yeah.
That immediately made me feel so much less like I'm fighting the angle. I have to keep that in mind. My lack of shoulder turn is probably also why I accidentally hit the backhand cross court when I'm not trying to. And my best backhand on the line is spanked away by a two-handed backhand user's one-handed backhand. And this was a much-needed break. He always gets me out of breath, and this was the first time I've ever seen him out of breath with me. This drill is no joke, and I'm going full effort and focus with it here. Now I'm back into the cross-court roll. Hopefully I can keep up here. Whoa! Let's try again. And that's what happens when you give me a ton of topspin. He's going to give me a tip for that toward the end of the lesson. I'll explain when we get there, but for now, just keep track of how I tend to respond to heavy topspin. Regardless, the fact that I'm doing as well as I am with these drills at all speaks so much to the improved footwork that Clem has helped me add into my game this year. I'm taking so many little steps without even thinking about it now. That gives me so much more ability to pull my weight in drills like this. And just be better on a tennis court. And at this point, I'm noticing that I'm not just tired. Unfortunately, an asthma attack is beginning, and I forgot my inhaler today. But I'm not gonna let it sour my mood today. I'm gonna fight through it. So I'm gonna really have to battle to generate the down-the-line angle that's tougher for me. It didn't go as well last time. Let's see what I can do this time. Decent start. Okay, this is way better than usual. Okay. 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 For me, that was alarmingly competent, and I didn't even realize it was happening. Being tired tricked me out of my normal nervous state. I was too focused on staying conscious to be scared of not hitting the shot I wanted.
You gotta prepare to suffer.
I'm going to need to come back to watch this from time to time to remind myself I am capable of doing things like this for extended rallies, even when I'm tired. That doesn't mean I can automatically do it every time, though. I hate framing volleys. And unfortunately, on the backhand side, that happens most of the time. Still! And on that note, let's hit some volleys. We're just touching on them for a moment here before we go into a little bit of point play. This is still the most unnatural part of my game, if you don't count my backhand slice. Which I almost wonder if I feel as uncomfortable as I do with both of those aspects of my game for similar reasons. My overheads are sometimes fine, but they're either fine or they're not. I tend to feel confident setting up for one though, and that goes a long way, honestly. I don't feel that way about basically any volley, and that's probably part of why they've stagnated at a pretty low level. Okay, now for some points starting from a feed, and if earlier your first thought was, well, if you were doing so well when you were incredibly tired, maybe you should just have an asthma attack before every point you play. Well, I'm about to have the worst of both worlds. I'm about to be super exhausted and still critically nervous about missing. But that's not what I'm thinking here. I'm thinking, no excuses. This has been a nice lesson. I'm feeling some emotional momentum right now. Let's not derail it. Let's focus, let's grind. But that started out so poorly that we ended up restarting the point score from 0. The idea here is my first shot has to be cross court, and from there, the point is open. 10-point tiebreak. That's a better start, but this is Seria tennis, and even when I can't double fault, I still double fault. I dumped the feed twice, and I called a double fault on myself. Come on, man, let's go. Here's a look at my slice technique, which I'm going to be having an intervention with soon. So in case any of you wondered if I can hit a tweener, Okay, this isn't ideal, but let's not panic. Let's plug away. Yeah, there's a terrible habit there. Instead of having soft hands, I kind of chopped inward, and that's not going to get it done. I knew that I should have been at the net after that slice, but I didn't know it in time. I'm bad at recognizing my opportunities. That's one of those more intangible things I have to figure out how to work on. I tried to go behind him, but he didn't move, so I looked silly. Thankfully, I wasn't punished. That's so frustrating and kind of inexcusable at this point. I have to finish those off. Net game, net game, net game. This has been sloppy and I'm behind the 8 ball, but I haven't been missing my first or second shot, like I've always tended to. A little lucky there, and I think he gave me one at the beginning. I'm working the points, I'm just not finishing them off. There's an early spray. That can happen at any time. But let's not think about that. Let's hit quality balls and be patient for opportunities.
What? That did not feel like that at all.
That was heavy topspin. He's throwing it at me here and seeing how I respond. And you'll notice I'm trying to treat it like any other ball. That frame was just such a letdown. 1 point from losing. Focus, hit quality shots. He's about to try giving me a ton of topspin here. I got lucky. We'll talk about that in a moment, but for now, let's stay in this. I can spray at any time. That's a shame, but still good things to take from this. Like, get better at the net, you dingus! So I brought up my struggles with topspin to him, and he told me part of that is my positioning. I just stay right on the baseline, and I don't move back when I notice spin is coming at me. I need to start experimenting with moving back to take heavy topspin at a lower point. Moving on now to serves. Just warming up here with some kick second serves. I'm just trying to make these. And that's going, by my standards, pretty okay. If you have followed my channel, you'll know that I sometimes make serves. It can happen. But to end off this lesson, we're going to work a bit on placement, and the results are going to be interesting in terms of me just putting serves in play. There's a kick serve out wide, just in time for him to say, we're not going to hit that one anymore for now. Focus on these targets. Down the tee from the deuce, wide from the ad. I'll take that one to start with. I've rarely hit slice serves in the last few years, and he's trying to incorporate that into my game. And in actual matches, the only target I ever usually aim for on first serves is wide from the ad. My ability to hit the tee from the deuce is usually pretty bad. So far, for me, this is uncommonly promising. My thoughts are usually too dominated by fear of double faulting for me to ever really direct my serve. It's one of the noticeable holes in my game. I'm kind of in the ballpark of this spot right now, though. Again, I don't normally feel this competent. I'm tossing in a kick serve here just to reassure myself that I still know how to do it. Now let's go back to that spot and see if I can hit an everball there.
See if we can see that.
Whoops. But hey, it was still in.
Good. Yep.
Feels good. And yes, I know that these are not very pacey serves at all. I had way more pace when I first started playing tennis, but that was when I just swung wildly, having absolutely no idea where the ball was going, hoping aces would happen, and they did sometimes. But I've been paying the price for years of lack of discipline. So these first serves are pretty weak, and they especially look sad from this camera angle. But I'm way more likely to win with this serve than my initial wild slashing. That serve might go in 1 out of every 15 tries, and I was almost a shoo-in for double faults. Now, look how rarely I'm missing any serves. And that's something that I mentioned to Clem in between serves here. When I have an intent for the shot, it seems to be more likely for the serve to go in the box anywhere.
There you go.
I may not hit the exact spot, but that spot happens to be in the box, so even if I'm a little bit off, I'm probably still going to make the serve. And now we're at the end, he says last ones, and look what happens the moment I think, oh, don't miss! Isn't that telling? Oh my god, I made it, yay. So that's the session. A recent video on my channel shows a lesson that was geared exclusively toward consistency, where I was trying as hard as I can the entire time to be as safe as possible and make all of the shots. But now that I think of it, I might have been more consistent in this session than I was in that one. I was looser, I was more confident, I had momentum going in the right direction. I let the things that I've learned in these 6.5 years of tennis flow. There will always be ups and downs. I won't always feel this good hitting a tennis ball. In fact, it's probably rare that I will. But it sure is nice to feel good hitting a tennis ball, because for some reason, I just love doing it. As low as my level is with it compared to other things in my life that I put as much time and effort into. That said, after a session like that, I have that rare feeling of maybe I don't suck that much. Maybe I am a 4-0 level player. Something like a UTR 6, I don't know. If I hit with a 4-5, maybe I would not waste their time. But this is a video where I've made it a point to leave a lot of that up to you. Tennis people online already make the leap to rate people themselves without being asked, but this time, I'm genuinely asking. What do you think? Would I be a 4-0 in your region? Taking into account the fact that this was a good session for me, but maybe, just maybe, this can be a stepping stone, and I can believe this is who I am, and I can make this my average level, and then I can improve from there. We'll see. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. Have a good one.